Welcome to the special Christmas edition of the SprintCarLimited.com podcast presented by Moose's LZ Bar and Grill in Jonestown, PA. Great food at a great price. Christmas means a lot of Tyler Swank. Tyler, how you doing?
So we got to go like twice the amount of time this year since we flaked out last year on it.
No, no,
Yeah,
because I have some wagering to do that. So on Monday
it's Monday
night.
Night Football, isn't it?
Yep, yep,
Who
yep.
plays?
It's San Francisco at Indianapolis.
Oh man, you got Brock Purdy versus the old man. This is going to be awesome. I might actually watch this one.
Yeah, because God knows what's going to happen with Philip Rivers. So.
Yeah.
I mean, but your Minnesota Vikings put some jingle in my pocket yesterday, barely, but
Well, you're welcome.
yep, jingle's a little jingle. Doesn't matter,
It doesn't matter how you get it.
Hope
I've been running second and third at races before on the last lap, and the two guys in the front have driven over each other and crashed and won the race. So the next day, or when your direct deposit hits the next day or whenever it hits, it don't matter. It doesn't say how you did it.
and usually a year down the road and longer, nobody remembers what happened.
Yeah, yeah,
You
it,
know,
it, yeah. No one short memories. Everybody's got short memories, which is probably good in a lot of instances.
Christmas is going to be a little different for you. You're coming to Pennsylvania. You're coming, I guess, what tomorrow, and going to be here a while. I mean, how about
Yeah,
that?
going out there, doing Christmas with Nicole's family. Let's see, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Then I'm gonna swing out to CJB and just kind of get a game plan with Barry on how we're gonna attack all this. And I think they're already in pretty good shape, at least on Brenham stuff. I think it's probably gonna be more all hands on deck on Donnie's car, but then fly back on the weekend. And then my mom and dad miss coming up to our family Christmas this weekend because everybody got sick down there. So I think we're going to make a quick trip down to Missouri over New Year's and spend some time with them because it seems like I don't ever get to see them hardly ever, even when I was been at home the last couple years. And now that I'm going back, I mean, I don't know how that's all going to work, but
So, speaking of CJB, it was released today. Did a 98.9 on it. The release came out. You're on the road again. You're with High Limit, with Brenham Crouch, CJB. How did First off, how did this all come together for you that you ended up being a crew chief on the road again?
I was working for my buddy Dennis. He's always kind of it, I always call him and whenever I get myself fired. So you locked up? Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
He's always my soft place to land when I get myself fired. So I'd been working there, and I started my this little with MPV Logistics, a little freight deal. So I just working in his shop and working with Dustin Salvage on the 360, and then Wimmer when he drove the 410 and to help Caleb's guys, shop stuff, whatever we needed to do. And I had actually taken something else, kind of it was going to be around here. Um, and it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago. All time runs together, but let's just say for the sake of conversation, a week and a half ago, I got a call from a representative of theirs, Mark Miller. Everybody, most of the pit area knows Mark. He's friends with Chad and Barry and does a lot of marketing stuff for some teams and whatnot. And he called me on a Thursday. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to shop. We got everybody down there just working and all that." He's like, "Hey, man, you by yourself?" And I looked around. Well, I had like 4 or 5 people around me. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm by myself. What you got?" So he starts in. He goes, "Well, I can't really tell you what's going on," but he goes, "Hold on, I'm telling the story." He goes, "But a certain someone is going to go drive a race car. I don't know exactly how he drive for a team on the World of Outlaws that already has an existing touring car. And just a heads up, as friends, I want to just, hey, your name's thrown around to take over the other car. But he goes, I can't tell you who it is. He goes, you'll figure it out. But he goes, I can't say nothing. He goes, there's already too many people that know about it. And it's not a done deal yet. And he goes, I'll know more in the next 24 hours. And I said, so what you're saying is Donnie's going to go drive the 5 car and they need someone for Brenham. And he goes, yeah, you figured it out. So then we just, since I said it, he just kind of like filled me in on some details and whatnot. He goes, you don't need to answer now, but he goes, I just want you to think about it because you're going to get at. He goes, they got one other guy that I don't know who it was, but someone that had raced with Brenham somewhere else early on in life that they had talked about getting, and then my name come up, kind of, I guess, as a on the list. So I'm like, yeah, just I guess keep me in the loop. So next day it was like Mark called again. It was either, let's see, that was on a third. I remember that's on a Thursday. The deal got done with Donnie on Monday. And I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday. Mark's like, hey, all this is going to happen. And he goes, are you interested? And I said, well, I mean, I'm always interested in a conversation, but I said, I kind of got a couple issues. And he goes, well, what's that? And I said, well, one, I said, how's this going to work? A 2 car deal. I said, I don't understand the dynamic because I've seen and been involved with them before and they haven't quite worked out. And I said, the other thing too is I'm not moving Pennsylvania. I've kind of become a homebody. I got my grandson here, which I still don't see enough. And I got another grandbaby on the way. And, I've kind of become a homebody. And I'm like, I said, I don't mind being on the road, racing and all that. But I said, I don't want to, I don't want to base the thing out of PA. And he goes, we talked about a couple other things. And he goes, I think there's probably an opportunity where it won't be in PA because I've never been to Barry's shop or anything like that, but I don't know if it's big enough to house 2 teams. But they kind of had, I think they, and I'm probably speaking out of line, but I think they kind of wanted to do the Casey Kane thing. I mean, granted, they're running 2 different series, but they just kind of wanted each team to be their own thing. So, and I actually kind of sort of told him I wasn't interested right away, but then persistence after about the second or third time, I'm like, all right, if we can base this thing out of here and, worked out the financials and all the other stuff, it's like, yeah, this is a no brainer. I mean, I thought I was done with tours and being on the road and racing at a high level. I'd kind of come to the conclusion that that was it. I was done. And it's like, you know what? I'm 48 years old. I got all 3 girls out of the house, got their own shit going on. So it's like, okay, let's do this.
You know, you and I have had many conversations about the, we did think you were done. I mean, you've told me, you and I have talked about this many times. You were ready to just do whatever, something regionally or locally and run the freight deal. And then this drops in your lap. Uh, man, did you ever imagine you'd be get an offer like this? And at that point, I mean, it's got to make you feel wanted. At least I know you've gone through some weird stuff over the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I think it's human nature to not, you know, people handle weird stuff and maybe getting let go or parted ways with or fired differently. Some lash out, some disappear, some run their mouth, some, beat themselves. It's just everybody handles stuff different. And it's I'm not gonna lie, it's like, hey, this could be it. And I think everybody is human nature wants to feel wanted or needed, and it doesn't matter if it's racing or at another job or with your family. You just, if you feel like you want to, like you got to live. I don't even know if live for something's the right thing, but you just want to feel wanted. And, it's like, okay, well, this is probably about as good a deal as I'm going to get. And I don't, the equipment's fantastic. The Chad has a great reputation in the sport. He's been around a long time. And, I think Brenham's, he showed a lot of promise last year. I've watched a lot of film on him. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. So, yeah, I felt it made you, it does make you feel good when you're wanted. So, that's something I'll always keep in the back of my mind that I always appreciate. And, you kind of maybe gives you, instead of having a chip on your shoulder, so to speak, you're just like, okay, I'm going to make these guys, I'm going to prove to them and yourself that, hey, this is the right choice. And this is, you guys didn't make a mistake. And let's go from there.
Yeah, because you were bouncing around, and I don't want to say, I mean, you were been doing the crew chief thing, but a lot of young guys dealing with dads, dealing with a lot of different things back and forth, and that's not really something that appealed to you at this point because you've had other offers, and this one stuck out obviously because you took it. But man, what's the last 5 to 7 years been like after the Stenhouse Marshall deal, KCP deal, and then you had the RSR deal, and then at that point you were bouncing around a lot.
Yeah, I was driving around the big screen TV for the Outlaws, pimping myself out on Saturday nights to local people, which was a hell of a cash gig. So, but yeah, like I said, Dennis always provided a safe place for me to land, and I worked with a lot of good people. I worked for Tyson and Susan Oakman on the 32 car with Bryce Lucius, and sometimes things just don't work, no matter how hard you try or work. It ain't meant to be, and that was probably looking in the mirror. Looking back on it, that was just probably one of those situations. I even just about started my own deal. We actually raced my car one night at Knoxville and one and done. It's all that stuff still sitting here at the house, and all it really needs is an engine, and we could roll. But yeah, it's been a blur. It's been, if I don't feel like I've really done anything, but I've done a lot in the last 5, 6, 7 years, especially since the RSR thing. It's you kind of feel homeless, and it's like, man, this is it, huh?
and
So
you got fired. I mean, getting fired, that's never fun. I think people don't talk about that enough. I mean, it's almost like you become numb to it.
yeah, so I told my girls yesterday, or what day is it? Day Monday, Saturday at Christmas, kind of filled them in on what I had going on, and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not moving or anything like that, but I'm on the road and all that. And the girls are like, well, that's cool, because they've been through all this with me
Yep.
before. My son-in-law Nathan's sitting on the couch, and he goes, so this is your next deal you're getting fired from? And I said, well, probably is.
Wow.
So I mean, he said it jokingly. We're all a bunch of ball busters, but yeah, I feel like a pinball a little bit, just bouncing all over the place. And so here we are.
You mentioned Brenham. You've
Yeah.
watched it. I've talked about it a little bit in the off season here, how I liked what he did the last 2, 3 months of the season. What are you seeing, or what improvement have you seen in Brenham on tape and just when you have gotten a chance to watch?
Probably his racecraft has gotten better. This isn't easy. And sometimes it take, Geo figured it out pretty quick at 18. I mean, Larson's Larson, so we're not going to talk about that. David figured it out pretty quick. Everybody has their own timeline. And I think Brenham, I don't know if the right term is fast tracked, but usually you kind of start out like I know he ran the year with the RA, won the championship, but then he just got thrown to the wolves. They didn't try to do a pick or choose schedule or just run around PA or run around the Midwest or try to develop him. They threw him to the wolves, and is that right, wrong, or indifferent? I don't know, but I think probably a year or two from now, he's probably going to be it's going to be fine, and no one's not going to remember the last couple years that he's struggled. Just it's a youth thing, it's an experience thing. So I could probably answer that question a little better now once I race with him 10 or 15 times, but it just looks like his racecraft's getting better, and the kid ain't scared to stand on the gas, and that's fits kind of my style to a T. So I'm looking forward to it. We've had some good conversations, and I don't know. I'm excited. I shouldn't say cautiously excited, but this is probably the most excited I've been about a deal since the Caneric days.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You're
So,
you've worked with young guys. There was a stretch there where you had older guys. You had Kerry Madsen, won the Kings Royal. I mean, you were with Donnie years ago when he was younger. Then you got into Bryce. You had Sheldon Young. You had Geo Young. You had Aaron Reitzel was older, but that was more of a redemption tour on his part. Um,
yeah. David.
David, you were with David Gravel
Yeah.
when he was young. What is it with you and these young guys here?
I don't know. Maybe I give off the grandpa vibe or something.
All by.
But yeah, I don't know. Kerry was older when I raced with him, and Aaron was, I think, 30. But like, yeah, you're right. I haven't really worked with I tried to make it work with Joey when I took the 17 car over, and I've said this a million times. That was a complete disaster. That part, and then I got to race with Jack the rest of the year when they made a change there. But I don't know. I guess it's just it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy the process. Like I enjoy building teams from scratch. Now I don't have to do this here, which is actually going to be nice. Well, I say that, but I'm going to have to help them once I get out there. We're all hands on deck, I think, for the 15 car. So, but I don't have to. I just, hey, what do you need me to do, and I'll do it. Where I've always kind of had to, I help RSR was already in existence, but it was a freaking mess when I got there, just from an infrastructure standpoint and not having the same kind of equipment, and all the engines had different head combinations, and I'm not picking on, I'm just using that as an example. So it seems like I've always had to do a cleanup a little bit in some of these things to get going. But I enjoy the process. I enjoy like when they would learn something new. I would always enjoy like David, the 91 Talladega. That Jason was on like a 43 winning, race winning streak, and we kicked their ass. That was cool. Just watching them progress and knowing that, hey, I maybe had a small part in that. And maybe it's just I can chameleon really good with most of them. I don't understand like the whole 6'7" thing, the kid bullshit that they got going on today, but I think having the girls in my life, my daughters, they're 20, oh shit, 27, 22, and 21. So but I've always been able to talk to them, figure out how to have conversations with them and help them with things, and I'm not saying that their level to be degrading or anything like that, but I've been able to kind of go back in time, and maybe help people along. And it wasn't perfect, with, you know, every time I've said this on this show before, every time I've gotten canned from somewhere, I when I was younger, I used to just get pissed off and go on a tirade and all, with human nature to be angry. But usually anymore, after about 15, 20 minutes, most of the time you see it coming, so you're kind of ready. I've always like, okay, now what did I do here that I can take to the next situation to not do? So I've done that with the ST, going backwards in time. I've done that with the STP thing. I did that with the RSR deal. I did it with the KPC deal. I mean, I was over the KPC thing before I got on the interstate. It's okay. Well, I guess I better figure out what's next. So I think, to go back to your original question, I think I can chameleon a lot with younger drivers and kids and stuff, like even crew guys. I think younger guys, I maybe, I'm not going to hang out with them at night or play Fortnite or whatever it is they do, but I think I can resonate with them a little bit. You know, I'm a grumpy old man, but I think I can maybe not be the old man part so much at times.
Not grumpy.
I get a little
Okay.
growly sometimes.
I'll have to call Nicole and ask her about that.
Don't. You won't get her off the phone.
Oh,
Hey.
well, this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you live with somebody. This is why I'm in an apartment by myself.
Yeah. Smart man.
Well, I have a cat. That's
I got two. One's passed out on the couch over there, and the other one I thought was going to make an appearance, but I don't know where the hell he run off to.
mine's on the couch, or I don't know. I fed her right before the show, so she might be laying back on the bed. She'll come out. You never know when she'll make an appearance, but
Oh yeah.
they're great. Don't say much. I can leave the house. I don't have to take them out. That's great.
Yeah, they poop in a box. If you got to be gone for 2 or 3 days, just make sure your food and water bowl's full. And
Yep.
sometimes I think they'd prefer it if you did leave.
Yeah, and it's great because I get somebody to clean the box. I clean the box every day. She's happy. I'm happy. It works.
Yeah.
Let's drag. Um, High limit outlaws. I'm going to ask you about, we, kind of got your deal worked out now. You've lived through this before. This 2006, you had you were around. It's 2006 NST Outlaws. You've kind of been able to watch this develop and not be a part of it.
Yeah.
Where do you come out on all this stuff? Everybody seems to have an opinion. What you're going to be with High Limit now? So
I think I mean, the money anymore is incredible on both sides. Maybe more so the high limit side right now than the outlaw side. I mean, you and I've talked about it before. If you take the labels off both series and just look at the money, I think high limit's probably a tad better. Um, I think it's awesome that the handful of friends that I still have that are out racing are making a good living because of the money. I think it's provided more opportunity for other race car drivers and teams to travel, because I think you talked about it on your show the other day, and I don't know what the 90, I think it was a 90 at 9 what you were referencing, but it just, who just announced that they're going for the rookie deal. They
uh,
just, like, there's Scotty Thiel, there's
Torgerson,
yeah,
you have Torgerson, Scotty Thiel, and then you have the other one now. Well, now I feel
and that's the one you were talking about, I think.
I know. That's
I
sad.
know. I know.
See, this is what happens when you get 53.
Yeah, I didn't write it down.
That's horrendous.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. So anyway, would you see those guys out on a touring series if everybody was together? Exactly. Would Danny Sams be on a touring series if everybody wasn't together? I can't speak for other teams, but it would be a hell of a lot harder, you know. So I mean, like, I'll use Brenham as an example, and I mean this with all due respect. I was last year. Last year, the first full year of the high limits, or no, the year before was. That's
Year
right, because I
before
got
one.
fired from RSR. But anyway, Brenham's a 20-year-old kid that last year was his first year on the series because Spencer was in the 5 car the year before, wasn't he?
Yep.
Um, he's got a charter or a franchise. You know what I'm saying? So if everybody was together and there was the franchise system, just from the experience standpoint and learning the racing and the racecraft, I don't think because if they had the franchise system, you had the and all them Sheldon and all them together. I don't think guys like him and I maybe the boot car wouldn't have one. You see where I'm going with this? I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just using this example, just on the outside looking in.
Well, you wouldn't have
I don't know.
29 national touring guys.
Yeah, I mean and everybody seems like they're making good money because I'll get on that sprintcarratings.com deal. I've said this again, shameless plug, fantastic for information.
Awesome.
It's unreal. I met the guy at Lernerville and he came up and said, "Hey, thanks for saying nice things about my website." I said, "You the sprint car ratings guy?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you work or ever get laid? Because you're always messing with this website." He goes, "Ah, it gets pretty easy." And he explained how he did it all to me, which went way over my head. But anyway, if you just go through the roster of drivers and guys that have just in their eyes or in the unwashed masses eyes have had average years have made good money. So,
Absolutely.
so
Scott
I
Pagutski's the other outlaw there.
that's who I was thinking of. Okay. So just I don't know if it's all sustainable. I'm not a business guy, nor do I care. I care, but it's not my place to worry about it. So now that I'm on back on a touring series with a really good established team and a young up and coming driver, hey, I'd like to go get some of
Yeah.
it. So no, I don't. I've said this before. I think the outlaw schedule's boring. I've said that even before all this happened. I think it's injected some new tracks and different places and maybe even a different audience. That would be interesting because I know a lot of the old on the interweb, a lot of the fans of the old guard, I would say, they're so anti high limit that it's kind of like, dude, are you even thinking about what you're saying here? It's freaking capitalism. This is the same guy that has a big Trump sign in his front yard that's like, we just need one series. And it's like, no, everybody's making money now. And I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I mean, does it water down maybe a little bit the Outlaws or that mystique? I don't think it does because they still have packed grandstands every night.
Good point.
And the racing on both sides is spectacular. I mean, you got really, really good drivers on both sides, and you got different levels of guys that, like Billy Baylog. I don't think he has Dennis Roth money or Todd Quiring money. He does a hell of a job. Them guys do fantastic. Would Billy Baylog be able to do this if there wasn't 2 series? He might be able to have a crack at it once or twice or 1 or 2 years, but and I don't know his business model. I'm just using that as an example. But I think it's great, man.
I don't think he does. I think you could take each roster from probably seventh on back and chop it because I don't think there'd be room for those guys. So no, Tanner Thorson's another one.
No.
He wouldn't be able to make it on a national tour at that rate because you start throwing Gravel and Kofoid and Macedo and all those Outlaws guys with the high limit guys, and it's going to push them down the order. I mean, it's just simple numbers game.
Yeah. There's a guy right there. If he ever gets qualifying figured out, he's got as much talent as any top 5 driver in the country. I mean, he's got that coilover car thing rolling really good. If he can ever figure out qualifying, he's going to be a huge pain in the ass, the guys up front, which he already is. But the problem is he's got to come from 12th, it seems like, all the time.
Well, and his big track needs to get better at a big track. Tell me what's different between big track, small track. It seems that's something for him. That is a struggle. I mean, Knoxville, he might as well not even show up.
I mean, is it maybe as a driver racing midgets as well? But Buddy runs. Is Buddy any good at Knoxville? He's decent.
Up,
He's not
it depends.
spectacular. Yeah, he's not spectacular, but he goes all right. I don't know. Maybe it's the midget deal, or again, racing is it's motorsports, and I don't know what they run for engines or anything like that. But maybe it just boils down to qualifying. He doesn't qualify very good, and he buries himself. I guess I haven't really paid attention to him at Knoxville that much, but just watching him on the TV all the time the last couple of years I've got to watch, it's like, man, this freaking guy's got his shit together.
He definitely, well, I mean, having Stevie Smith Jr. help him is not a detriment.
No, it's he's sharp,
Yeah,
sharp as hell.
he's definitely sharp. Um, Tires. We're hearing a lot about it. Uh, as a crew chief, how much do you get into that? How much, I mean, you usually have a tire guy, but
Yeah,
this tire situation, the cost, obviously you're not paying for it, but they had a couple different compounds, a couple guys tested them, they shelved it. I don't know what the status is going to be with that at the end of this year or next year. They got to do something though. You've gone through the different tires. A lot of people haven't. You know, Buddy Kofoid's only ever run one deal,
yeah.
but you've been around for the different tires. And if you could explain to people tires before, tires now, just in layman's terms, what's so different?
The tires, when I first started, even out here as a tire guy, you had all kinds of different options, left rears and right rears. And not only did you have different compound options, you also had different construction. You had stiff sidewall, floppy sidewall, and a lot of times they would grow and shrink as you would run your pedal. It's like a drag car. When you stand on the gas like a top fuel dragster, the tire goes like this. And then when they let off, it goes like that. Well, that's what we used to have back in the, when Steve was still in his prime and when Sammy was in the channel lock car. I probably had we first had Goodyears when I came out. I can't remember the Goodyear thing that well because I was kind of fresh. But once I started paying attention to stuff like the Hoosier stuff would grow and shrink, and you had all kinds of, you had too many options. So from what they did from that to kind of limit that, I think that was good, maybe a little bit. But I think, and then that was like the D series tire. And then they come out with something else that was kind of did the same thing to where they limited, like I think you had a D12 and a D15 option. I think that was in a medium, but the construction was still kind of floppy. So you could still manipulate the tires with your feet. That was, you could still go up there and, like Jack or even Dave Blaney was a throttle stomper, get up there and rip the top. And then you still had the flick and stick guys, Bobby Allen, which he wasn't racing when I come out, but that style, the Donnie style, just you ain't gonna go up there with run around with your hair on fire, but he's gonna make you look stupid because he's just gonna finesse the car. And they had those, and then I think we went to Goodyear's, which at the time they had a lot of issues with blowing tires out, and I can't really remember what the cause of that was, but actually the racing was really good. We didn't realize how good the racing and how good the cars felt, I think, until we got on this current version of Hoosiers. They got them belted and stiff and nothing grows, and they just basically you pay twice as much for a product that's 5 times as shitty. So in a nutshell, they banded them. They've worked so hard to make the racing better that I don't think they helped it any.
What's the answer? More
The
compounds.
the problem is the answer is gonna probably drive the price up, but you gotta either let someone else in for competition, or you got to just go to Hoosier and say, hey, you don't have to give us the super floppy stuff back, but just give us the stuff that you had before we switched to Goodyears, or the kind of the middle road one, to where guys could still peel off the cushion and float the middle and the bottom. But now it just seems like it's so top dominant that you got to put death sliders on everybody to get going. So,
What can you do as a crew chief? Because you guys are in a box now
oh
compared
yeah.
to the way it used to be. Have they, and I hate to use the term obsolete, but have they made you guys, a little bit, obsolete in
Well,
that?
between the tires and the wings, I know the wing thing was getting out of control too, but you can't even, I mean, you can kind of mess with like body thickness and where you have your boards and all that, but they took a lot of creativity out of stuff. But yeah, it seems like anymore you got to be more of a manager than anything, to manage the people, and just like a team manager. It seems like there's more of a team manager role than being innovative or any of that. He can still kind of maybe sneak some stuff, not nothing illegal, but just sneak some different stuff in every once in a while. But when it comes to the wings and the tires, you're pretty much handicapped.
And yet, Ricky Warner, they win. Silva, now Silva has Larson.
Yeah.
But
But Cody and David, they win quite a bit.
yep.
Buddy and Dylan are getting to that point where they're night in, night out. They can win. Aaron, I still say when his head's screwed on straight, he's a top 3, 4 guy in the country. I mean, he's my pick. I mean, obviously, I'd like to win the championship with Brenham, but realistically, I think Aaron's your guy.
I said that the other day. In fact, it didn't come out yet. I was on Fiedler's deal. He interviewed me about the state of sprint car racing, and he asked me to pick a high limit champion. I picked Aaron, and of course, everybody thinks I'm disrespecting Rico. No, it's Aaron's really good at knowing what he does well. You worked with Aaron; he's like his own crew chief.
Yeah, he's figured some stuff out with the Boffman when he had Boffman Reitzel, the 87. Cars, he knows what he wants with cars. He knows how he wants his engines to run for him. Now you can take his engines and put them in somewhere else, and they're going to bitch because they're undrivable. But he's got his little box he works in, and he'd be going back to the tire thing, and it would be interesting if you did make a wholesale change on tires. That would even everything out, I think, a little bit for a while, because people would have to start
Yeah.
thinking again. But no, Aaron, he has his package that works with him, and he knows what he wants to. Did I lose you?
No, you're here. You just lit up like a
I,
Christmas tree.
I don't want to leave. Hold on. There we
I
are.
still
I bumped I got one of these cool computers. I got a touch screen on it, which I forget about, and I smoked it with my hand. But no, Aaron knows what he wants to feel, and most of the time he knows how to get there. I mean, if he didn't bust his nose and break his foot and all that stuff this year, he probably would have won the championship this year.
Yeah, and for some reason, whatever he has, Justin Sanders loves. They're
I
like
think
one and the
I
same.
don't think two drivers are created equal, but I think if you had two about the same, I think them two would probably maybe not made from the same mold, but I think they were built on the same day.
No, I agree. A lot of the same components. A lot. There's been a lot lately made about because the Hall of Fame comes around every year, and people talk about now versus the past, and you're a lot of younger people or younger drivers. They don't remember Steve Kinzer. I had this discussion with somebody the other day. You saw Steve Kinzer.
Yeah. You say
Uh,
Doug Wolfgang to some young guys, and they look at you like you got 3 heads.
yeah.
Yeah.
How good was Steve? To me, best of all time. I had a conversation last week with Randy Wolf on the deep dive. He could do anything.
he there were he was unreal, and I didn't at the time, being the young kid out there in his prime, because I was out there. We had the Caneric deal. I think I was at Caneric kind of towards the end, when it was just
Yeah,
kind of like, hey man, you think it with all due respect, it's probably time to stop, or else you're gonna hurt yourself, and
right.
I mean that with the utmost respect. But when I come out, he was still kicking everybody's ass. And I remember a night, we were at Calistoga. I was working for Craig Cormack's car. I can't remember if it was the year Herrera was driving or Myers was. Okay. So in 2000, 2001, I was a tire guy. I worked for Craig Cormack, and I couldn't remember if Jason Myers or Johnny, it was one of those 2 years. There was a big pileup at Calistoga, and I don't remember who he was in the point battle with at the time. I can't remember if it was Lasowski or Mark. I even got in on the tail end of Mark's career in the Mopar deal. That thing was awesome. Anyway, I digress. There was a 6 or 7 car pileup. I think Hannigan was in it. Um, this is how long ago it was. He was in it. I think Tatnall was driving the 6 car, but I'm not 100% sure. There was a lot of cars in it. And I think whoever he was racing with for the championship was in it too. So anyway, they drug this thing back. I've never seen a car. So I've seen twisted cars, but for some reason, this thing didn't knock the rear end out of it. The front end was all cattywampus, and the torsion bars were locked up in it, and the motor was half falling out of it. And he's sitting there screaming. He's like, "Just get me out there so I can pass, make a lap, so he could be scored ahead of all them guys." Because I don't know, remember if they blew an engine in the heat race and had to run. He was starting in the back for some reason. So anyway, I remember this because I helped put the car back together. I put the drag link on. There all hands were on deck. Well, then they pushed him off. This guy goes into 1 and 2 at Calistoga, and the place back then, I think it's scary now, but it was scarier back then. He passes like 5 or 6 guys coming off of 2, and he runs this thing up to like third or fourth. And we're all just, I mean, this thing was a mangled mess. The next day, we were all looking at the thing. The torque tube in it was bent. Everything was bent. I mean, I think it had the steering box blown out of it. And all he wanted to do was make a lap to get scored. He runs this thing up to fourth or fifth or something ridiculous. I don't remember a lot of what happened over the years, like stuff, but I remember this really, really well. After the race, he runs it up there. So we all push back out to the um outside, because that's where you just park there at the track.
Right.
Calistoga was probably the funnest event ever, but those are stories. So we could get our cars cleaned up and loaded up, drink some beer, like the Ross always cooked tri-tip. It was beef. That's when they had beef packers, blah blah blah. So anyway, I remember this at the end of the night, and I'm standing there next to Davey Whitworth, who I was working for. He was the crew chief on the car. Steve's parked next to us, and Gherkin and all that. Well, they're starting to tear stuff apart. And I'm doing something with tires and all that. And I heard Davey mumble something about, "I never want to hear that I need another half a turn somewhere or a half a pound of tire pressure." He goes, "Did you see that?" I go, "Yeah, I see. That's all I watched." But the guy was just freaking relentless. And it's funny because he was at the racetrack. You're like, man, this guy's an asshole. But it's how he made his living. He had to put kids through school, and then Craig started racing, so he had to pay for that. But then outside the place, you wouldn't, for a successful and the greatest of all time that he is, you wouldn't never know it outside the racetrack. Because if you were at a bar, he'd stand there and drink with you. If you were eating and you were by yourself, he'd be like, "Hey, come eat with us," and he'd usually buy. So you would never know. Because it was funny watching the relentless animal, and then when you're not at the racetrack and you're doing something in the social world, and even in the parking lot, he's like a great big teddy bear. Smokes cigarettes like a chimney, but it was just watching him. I appreciate stuff more now, especially the last couple of years. kind of studied a little more of the history, and I've kind of appreciated some more things that I got to witness.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
Sammy back then, he was another guy. Just when you say
if Sammy hadn't tried to reinvent the wheel half the time, I'm not saying he'd be the multi-time champion, but I think he'd have a couple more championships. But he was always just looking for that extra thing, that extra edge, that extra, that was back when you could do stuff and they didn't, hey, you can't do that now.
yeah, yeah.
So, but no, he was relentless too. And then it was funny because I don't remember where it was at, but him and Steve got together, and this is when I later on in life I thought there's a little WWE to this
Hmm.
a little bit, because they were fighting in the pit area and on the track and carrying on. Well, the next morning, Sammy's out there working on Steve, helping Steve with something on his motorhome out in the campground at the racetrack. And then it seemed like if they were parked next to each other and they all had lines, they wouldn't load up until the other one was done selling. Sure, it's just like I'm sure they hated each other on the racetrack and all that, but I think there was still the mutual respect and like, hey, we're both making money here, so let's. I'm not saying it was like that, but it just kind of makes you wonder if it's like, hey, let's monetize this a little bit. And if they were, more power to them.
Coexisted for the betterment of racing, but probably there was some animosity.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You know,
I think you have animosity now amongst some teams and stuff like that, but no one really brawls. They just get on Twitter and run their mouth.
yeah,
Usually,
you don't do
but
that.
me, no, I don't want to fight. So no, it doesn't do no good. I mean, I have gone up to people the next day and been like, "Hey, man, that was pretty ridiculous," certain scenarios. But I'm I'm too old to throw a temper tantrum.
And you don't get on.
That usually when there needs to be something like that, my car is in a basket, so I got to go figure out how to put that back in the trailer.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Kerry Madsen's back on a national tour. You have a
Yes.
lot of experience with Kerry.
Yes.
Am I weird for thinking he can get a franchise, that he could finish in the top 8 the next two? I mean, Fiedler and I disagreed on this. I think with the way that series is, and I think there's a question mark with every team, almost every team with high limit, and really the world of Outlaws, there's a question mark. Whether it's Rico going to TSR, or Brent Marks having a new crew, or Tyler Courtney coming back, Geo new team,
Yeah.
just some kind of nuance. And here's Kerry. Can he still get it done?
I think he can. Here's your spoiler. I think he can be around top 5 in points both years.
Really?
Yep. If him and Ty can gel, which I know they've already got a good relationship. I shouldn't say I know because I'm not there, but just talking to Kerry and, the last 2 or 3 months there towards the race season, we spent a lot of time talking at the races and, run into each other a couple of times in Knoxville. If him and Ty can gel, which it seems like they already have, I think he can be around the top 5 in the point deal. Now, am I saying he's going to be top 3? I don't know, but I think he can be around 5th or 6th. So I think he can get a franchise, because you have to run in the top 8, right? You can't
Yep.
run
Top 8.
7th one year and
Nope.
9th the next top. Yeah, I don't. That shouldn't be a problem.
What
Hope I
what
didn't jinx him.
well, it's on you, not me.
Yeah, whatever.
What what makes Kerry good? What is his best I guess attribute as a driver?
Never gives up. He's really in tune with his race car. He's a big F1 fan.
Really?
And yeah, in F1, I'm not an F1 fan, but I'll watch it because I think some of the stuff they do is cool. I don't consider it racing, but there's a lot of strategy and shit involved in that. Well, Kerry kind of, and I don't know if it's from F1 or if it was just something he's developed over time, but he's very strategic and stuff. I've learned more when I race with him at Caneric about strategy and racecraft from him than I have anybody. So I think one, he's relentless, and two, his racecraft is so good. Like there's times, and you've talked about, sometimes you just got to take your eighth place and go on. Maybe early in his career, he didn't think that way so much because he tore up a lot of shit. I remember we first come over here at Knoxville. I think he was driving for Al Parker. They were quick time and they'd win their heat race from sixth and he'd be leading the feature, but then he'd come in on the tow truck. And it happened. And Ian and I think we're talking about that the last time I seen him, about how fast he was, but he could never finish. Well, he's learned the racecraft over the years, and he's smart. He understands how the cars work. He knows what he's feeling, and he just. I don't know. I still go back to the list of people that I enjoyed racing with, and I'm not just saying this. He was probably number one.
No, it helps
Just
me.
from the learning aspect. It just learned so much about strategy and racecraft and things.
Time trials well.
Time trials well. But that goes back to the strategy. I'm not going to get into that because I'm going to use some of that with Brenham.
Oh, okay.
But and I've tried to apply that with like I did with Aaron. And Aaron was always a really good time trial, but we kind of used that same formula a little bit. I know I did with Bryce and everybody, even like Wimmer and Dustin when we did the stuff this year with the 360 and the 410 at Knoxville. It's just like, hey, let's use a little strategy here qualifying. Let's just not go out there and make laps. So
Have you talked to Brenham yet?
I not like on the phone, but we've texted quite a bit.
I mean, what's that been like? Because you got to develop chemistry with him. Is
Well, we speak the same language. He has complete sentences, uses punctuation, and talks, sounds really intelligent in the messages. Now I should probably call him, but he just got back from New Zealand, and
okay.
I know it's Christmas and all that, but we've had a couple really good conversations. See how I'm double fisted water, double fisted monster. I don't have any Horizon whiskey yet, so I can't see what I did there.
Yeah, I like it. I like the innuendo,
Yeah,
subliminal thoughts.
yeah. So no, it's same page. I kind of asked him what he wants to feel, night in and night out. And just kind of gone from there. Have I actually sat down and had a conversation with him? No, but we've texted quite a bit, and it's like, okay, I think we're on the same page here.
You're going to start in Florida,
Yeah.
and then you're bringing the stuff back to Iowa.
We're going to start in Florida. There's a lot of moving parts with getting Dawn's stuff ready, and I don't think they get their. I hope I'm not speaking how I shouldn't, but I don't think they get their trailer till February. So um, they're on a loan program from somebody that's going to loan them a trailer, a truck, and all that for the first go round. I'm guessing that we'll have to go back and after Florida and get all his stuff moved into there. I'd like to maybe come home for a week because I got my second grandbaby getting born in February. So I'd like to at least be around for that. And then after the second go around in Florida, if the weather looks good, we're going to go to Florida. If it doesn't look good, there's a Power I race in Texas somewhere at RPM Speedway. I'm gonna take Brenham there instead, I think. But yes, and then I'm gonna go west. And then I think we race pretty hard until the end of March, and then I'm gonna bring everything home.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
how long do you expect to do this? Like, I don't mean this team. I mean, I'm not trying to get you fired. Like, right away.
I haven't made it 3 years with one, so whatever the date is, January 5th of 2026, just add like 2 7/8 of a year, and that's probably how long I'll last with that one. Hey, look, we got proof of life.
There you go. Cat made an appearance.
Yeah, this one's the cat from hell. She's half demonic. Just like every other woman, aren't you? Anyway,
I didn't I didn't say
I did.
it. Well,
So what was your question?
I don't even know.
Oh, how long am I going to do
Yeah,
this?
yeah. How long do you want to do this? I mean, you're 48. I mean, is it? I mean, you Lance DeWeese in this. That as long as you're competitive. I mean, he's 60 now.
As long as they allow me to do it and I don't feel like I'm wasting time, I'll do it. I got my another shameless plug. You're probably going to bill me for this, but I got my little freight deal going too with MPV.
Yep.
So if anybody out there needs anything shipped, freighted, we've done combines, racing engines. I just shipped a late model for Donnie today from Rocket to Fargo. You know, I when they had the big crash in Eldora, we shipped a roller, complete car from the Ross shop here in Knoxville. I had it out to Eldora in 8 hours. So if anybody has any shipping needs, I'm your guy. But anyway,
And it
back
doesn't
to
sit on the dock. It's
no,
direct.
it does not. The way we do it, we don't. Nothing sees a dock. None of it sees a forklift unless it's getting loaded and unloaded out of the truck. We do sprinter vans, box vans, flatbeds, Conestogas. My running joke is if we get the Titanic out of the ocean, I could ship her to Mars. We just got to figure out how to get it out of the ocean. So anyway, that's my spiel. So get a hold of me for all your shipping and freight needs. But to get back to the racing thing, I thought I was going to end up having to do that. That's kind of made me busier and busier and busier, but I never really had the balls yet to be like, okay, that's the thing, because I have nothing consistent. Like one week, I'll have a really good week. One week I'll win. One week I'll win the Eagle race that pays 50,000 to win, and then the next week I won't do anything. So it's just hugely inconsistent. Now, I'm not saying I'm making 50,000 a week, but crew chiefs and crew guys out there know what our percentages are, so you can get the drift. But race wise, just as long as they let me, as long as I'm not wasting time. I mean, if I'm just beating my balls with a hammer, it's probably getting to the point where I'll just sit at home or go fishing or something like that. But as long as I still feel like I'm competitive and I still got my shit together up here, which I'm getting a little older. I can't move as good as I could. Finally getting my arm that I blew the bicep off of it last March in Texas. It's pretty much ready to go. But I went to the eye doctor the other day. I need a little stronger prescription for my eyes and
That's all
all
we
of that. But as long as I still have all my faculties and they'll let me do this, I'm going to probably keep doing it.
How'd you blow your bicep off your arm?
Well, Bryce was in the dash and he was out there ripping around and he flipped. So we brought him back to the. Do you hear my cat growling?
Yeah,
You can hear that?
I hear him. I have. Well, he doesn't like what you're doing.
Well, no, freaking Toast is out there jacking with her. So anyway, it's the Comedy Central all the time around here when them two ain't sleeping. Um, so we crashed, and obviously you're in the dash, so you're in the feature. Well, if you run the same car, we were going to start eighth, and we were ripping. I think he was up to third or fourth in the dash. So we were getting this thing back together and we put the top wing on it. Well, the front spuds were bent over and you're in the dark, you're in a hurry and all that. Well, I was trying to get the wing from being bound up. And what I did was I had my left arm straight and I tried to push and pull at the same time. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I felt a snap. The kid that was working with me started gagging because it was that disgusting. It snapped, and then you could. I looked over at the same time when I felt it go. You could see the thing roll up into my shoulder. I kind of joked with it hit me in the face, but then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm screwed.
Yeah,
So
but
that's how that happened.
you still tried to do stuff because you're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm a moron. Yeah, we got him back out there. The thing we didn't know, and if we would have looked at this first, we could have just called it a night. We bit the rear engine plate and it was hanging the throttle wide open. So if we would have seen that, I wouldn't have blown my bicep off. But we got him back out. So yeah.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. Kennydale. That's where that was. Yeah. It's like everybody a year from now forgets about it. I don't think anybody would have remembered that, hey, we crashed in the dash. We didn't make
No,
it back
I
out.
actually remember that he crashed in the dash. One
I
race.
do too, because I blew my bicep off my arm.
How long did it take that to heal?
I had see that was happened on a Saturday. I had surgery the next Friday. I did physical therapy clear up until maybe second week of June. And then it was got to the point where I could go to the gym and just do everything on my own. So it's good to go now. I got like full clear like September 14th. So I'm getting some strength back in it. Yeah, it took a little time, but it's trippy.
Yeah, I have nothing like that. I just got surgery on my.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I was in recovery and I wake up, they bring you back to life there, and I'm laying there. I'm like, man, I'm in so much pain because it never hurt. It felt weird, but never hurt when it
yeah,
I blew the tendon off my parts. What happened? So I'm laying there and like, man, I am in some freaking pain here. Well, some gal walks up and she goes, scale of 0 to 10, 10 being really bad. How do you feel? I go, I'm a 12. Okay. So she starts feeding me applesauce. And I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. Some hot nurse feeding me applesauce. She had pills in it. These things were incredible.
you
It
get
was I
Vicodin.
don't remember what they put me on, but I tried to wean myself off of them like 2 days after the surgery. It took me a day and a half to get back to where I wasn't hurting. So when they say if you're in a lot of stay ahead of the pain, stay ahead of the pain. And I got a high pain tolerance too, but it was trippy.
For me, they gave me Ketolac and then Vicodin. I have not taken the Vicodin yet, and I'm
I don't
hoping.
know, man. Eminem put out some really good albums on Vicodin.
Well, yeah, well, that's fine, but I, I'm trying to avoid the Vicodin end of it, and so far so good. I get this off tomorrow. Stitches will be out, I think, the 28th, 29th, something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I have a right hand. It's hard. The hard part's taking a shower because you
I
got to
thought it
put.
was pulling up your pants.
Well, pulling up my pants too. That because you're doing the button, and you never realize how much you use your left hand. I'm predominantly right, but I have to put on a bag to keep this dry in the shower. So it's trying to negotiate that. And then when I go to the bathroom, it's not as simple as because you got to hold the top, pull the fly down. It's just a pain.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't shower for 10 days with mine when they had it all wrapped up. So I was laying towels out in my bathroom floor and I don't know what they call them, a loofah, like the little
Yeah,
ball thing.
loofah. Yeah.
Yeah, and about 2 gallons of Dove body wash on a stick. I just and just wash all the important. Of course, I wasn't doing nothing, and it wasn't hot out when I was outside. I raced a little bit with it, but I managed. But the first shower was incredible when you could actually get in there.
You could have just stank. I mean, your cats would.
Yeah, I can't do that. I'm the guy that showers after he showers because he doesn't think he did a good job showering the first time.
Well, you may want to talk to somebody about that.
Yeah. I got a lot of other shit I need to talk about before I talk about my shower habits.
Is that a Minnesota Vikings thing? A
What's
cup?
that?
That cup?
Yeah, I got it. Let's see. This is how old it is. It's got Daniil Hunter on it and Linville Joseph. I got this when I went to the Viking. Well, there's old Harrison Smith. I don't know what year this was. Maybe 5 or 6 years. Whatever Linville Joseph played for him, and Daniil Hunter.
I can't get. I still am not a believer in JJ McCarthy. You and I have gone back and forth about that, and of course he's
I
hurt.
am. I think I think Jim Harbaugh would rather have J.J. McCarthy than Justin Herbert, though.
Then he's high as a kite.
We'll talk about it more off air because I'm kind of buying the theory. Justin Herbert's a hell of a quarterback, but I think you know Herbert needs to be in a Kevin O'Connell style offense. Five wide receiver because Kevin finally started about 3 games ago running 13 personnel and just quick hits and stuff.
Yep.
And
Yep.
JJ's looked like a very good NFL quarterback. Competent.
Competent.
So
Let's just go
competent, yeah,
competent. And
yeah. Let's go with competent.
yeah, don't get carried away. I don't. I
Yeah,
want to,
I want him to succeed because I think he's a good guy. I think he's,
oh,
what I'm saying. There's some of them like Johnny Manziel. He's an asshole. This Iowa plays this Vanderbilt quarterback in the bowl game, the 31st, the toilet bowl or whatever it is. I hope that in this, he just seems like a pompous ass. So
yeah,
I
he's not.
just can't help himself. So I kind of want, guys like that. It's just like, well, I hope he gets sacked 10 times a game and blows his Achilles tendon off. But JJ seems like a good dude. I guess I want him to succeed. Maybe because I know what it's like to be doubted.
Maybe
Yeah.
because I'm sure you've heard a lot of that over the last 5, 6 years.
Yeah. Since they put everything out this morning, I've heard it the last 12 hours.
No, you haven't.
I haven't heard nothing. It's all been pretty positive. I
Really?
had I had people text me, congratulations. And I've carried on 2 conversations today with people who I didn't save their number. I know all about how Christmas is going to go and
You don't
what
know who
they've
they
been up to. I have no idea who they are.
are. I got a text today like that. I have no idea who it is. But expectations. You're in a weird spot. Okay. Brenham has a franchise. You have Donnie on the other side, who you know well. What are the expectations? What are your expectations for Brenham? Because he's still green. You said it best earlier. Wins the IRA title, but only won one race, was consistent, and then thrown into high limit. And that's a tough place to cut your teeth and learn racecraft and get faster while you're doing it. What are your expectations this year for you and Brenham? And I don't know if you want to call it the first team, second team, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. I would probably say realistically, I'm not going to put a number figure out there. Obviously, the old cliche, let's just win one race and then let's go win another one. But I'd like to turn his fifth in the B mains at places into 16ths. Let's turn 16ths into 12ths. Let's turn 12ths into 8ths. Okay, so you were sniffing around a fifth place finish, and you run seventh at this place last year. Let's run fifth, or if you had a good run, let's get a podium. Just keep improving on what he's doing. And there towards the end of the year, I think here's the old cliche, the old notebook, but I think I got a pretty good starting point from burying him to where they started. But then again, if they change the tires on us, get a different mold or a different person throwing them in and out of the same mold, you get a different freaking animal. So, it's just kind of a crapshoot sometimes on what you get. You might have to change stuff up, but I would say let's just try to win a race and, just improve on what he's done the previous year. I think we was driver points or owner points was like, I think owner's points he was 10th. And I was just looking at the roster, and I think realistically, maybe he can get a spot, maybe two if we really get rolling. And maybe I need to set higher expectations, and hopefully we can sit down as a team and come up with some goals. And we did this with the Stenhouse Marshall thing. At first, you kind of thought it was hokey, but I think he was onto something. Richard would always do this with his employees, and his other teams, he'd make you, okay, 3 team goals and 3 personal goals. I was kind of hoping maybe we could sit down, whether it be the whole 15 and 5, or if it's just the 5 deal, sit down and be like, hey, what is it? What is not unrealistic expectations? And let's make some goals that if we don't achieve them, we don't feel like a complete failure.
Do you? And I know Donnie said on that dirt parlor deal that he kind of want, like he's willing to talk to Brenham and help Brenham out. Is that something you'll encourage?
Yeah, I want Brenham to annoy him. It's and I think Donnie's probably to the point. I know he does a lot with the niece. Well, actually, the nieces, the times I talk to them, they say Donnie does coach, but Donnie lets them screw up and then he fixes. He doesn't overwhelm them with information. So yeah, I think Donnie can. Driving styles are probably different because Brenham, you know, butterflies are always open, and I don't think he's ever seen a cushion he doesn't like. But I think from a mental standpoint, and to go back to the racecraft thing, and there's stuff that Donnie can help him, and I'm going to encourage it all the time. And hell, I'm going to lean on Donnie. Stuff that I can work on with Brenham. Like hey, like if we're racing on a Thursday night and they're not, he's watching, and even if we have a good night, call and say, hey, is there anything here we need, I need to work on him with driving? Because I've never driven anything. I've never, everybody's like, well, I need to, you'd be a good driving coach. Well, I don't know. I can, learn from Kerry and stuff like that. I can help with the strategy or what so and so's doing here, or hey, this guy did this qualifying, try this your second lap, stuff like that. But I've never driven anything. So as far as telling a guy what to do with his feet and stuff like that, I don't think I could be as beneficial as like what a Lasowski is or someone like that. Well, that's where Don's going to come in and be like, hey, is there something I need to inform him or work with him on to help make him better?
Uh, I always ask you this every year. What we go through some things, just and then we'll get you out of here. I know you got an early flight tomorrow, but 2026 things to watch for that maybe people don't expect. I figure we each do a couple. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'll go first. I have something that maybe people don't expect to happen. I expect Donnie to get 3 or more wins. I
I would,
I
yeah.
I set the over under at that. I think there's no way he can have there's no way he can have a worse season than last year. It's
No,
impossible.
no. I would say three's probably fair. I would say maybe over under 5, maybe 6.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying that because we're teammates. I'm just, there's always. How did I always put this? There's nothing better than getting a scoring driver. And I don't think he runs around thinking he's got a point to prove and all that, which he don't. But the guy still wants to win. You know, is he got 20 in him? I don't know. I didn't really think anybody would have 20 in them until this past year. I don't remember how much did David have 20?
No, he had 18. Rico had 19.
Okay, well there you go. That's damn near 20.
Yep.
So I think maybe David's hugely consistent right now. David or Buddy is getting there. I don't remember. Did they have a slow start in
Buddy
Florida?
struggles at Volusia.
Yeah. So if Buddy can kind of come out swinging there, or at least stay with David, I think it's going to be a lot closer. But Donnie's got a fire under his ass, and not only has he won a shitload of races, he's always been captain consistency. So I don't know, or maybe that's just the fan in me that kind of hopes that we can see the old Donnie. You froze up on my end. Oh, there
No,
you are.
no, I'm not. I'm just taking it all in, buddy.
Okay.
Is there one that I'm going to say this? Spencer Baston, also the over unders 3. I know a lot of there's a divide there of of people say he shouldn't be in that ride, and other people say he's better than what we think. I think Spencer Baston will win World of Outlaws events next year, and I think there'll be at least 3 of them.
I think he's probably it's I think you 3 or 4 wins probably. I think you're close with that. New team, new guys, new everything, and we could beat the same thing we've talked about to nauseum. Sometimes this stuff takes time, but I think he could be I think if you're looking for a sleeper, I think he's probably your guy over there. That, and I think he's kind of got a little pep in his step now.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Pruitt, people say Kyle Pruitt this, Kyle Pruitt that. I don't know. He looks pretty good with Sheldon and Spencer Baston.
Yeah, the guy's never had a chance at a big team. Even, I know he was the crew chief over at Shoeharts. Logan runs the deal.
Yeah.
So every time I see Kyle, he was always grooving tires. So, and I don't know the dynamic. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but just on the outside looking in, I don't, Kyle's never gotten a shot. So, here you go. I mean, he's got a very good program, good engines, good cars. Here you go. Shit or get off the pot. I mean, I said mine earlier, Tanner Thorson. I mean, that could, I don't know what we're doing here again. We're like things to look for.
Just something that might surprise some people.
Yeah, I think Tanner on my end. I'm not going to go over that again because I did earlier in the show, but I think he's something maybe to watch for. He kind of caught me on the spot here a little bit. So
I think Aaron Reitzel will wins the most races for high limit.
I think he wins the championship.
There, there you go.
Yeah.
I think Rico's got a lot in his plate.
Yeah. And I don't really think, and the other thing too is Rick's had a little bit of health problems here a little bit, and I hope and pray that he's doing better and all that. But Rico's got a lot on his plate. Even the TSR thing, it's the same team, but there's added pressure.
Well,
I think being under the TSR banner. So
I'm going to throw this one out there as a tease. There will be a West Coast based team that wins a race in central Pennsylvania next year. And what I mean by that is not a touring team.
you got a little Easter egg for us that we don't know about?
I do.
And you're not going to tell us about it?
No.
Okay. It's not who Brad's driving for, is it?
No, 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 no. I think we all know who he's going to drive for. He's going.
Do you think it's Silva?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he would always have a car Casey's.
Well, yeah,
No,
that's what
maybe he does. I don't know. I'm just we're spitballing here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something. Do you think High Limit Deal did the thing on Fox Sports? You think you'll have more of them?
I think we'll have one. I think they'll do it again that week. They really, with the rain and the weather and everything that happened, I don't think it was a real fair shake. So I think they'll do it again. So I think we'll see one at minimum, maybe two, but I don't know where you do it. But I think you're going to give it another. They'll give it another try. Yes, definitely. But there is a West Coast team that runs maybe a part-time schedule that I think is going to win a race in Central Pennsylvania next year, and I am not talking about Brad Sweet.
It's not a black 21 car, is it?
It might be. Might be.
Is the guy driving it have the sweetest beard ever and might talk funny?
It might be.
Yeah. If it's that guy, he's so good. He is so good.
Yeah. I think you could see them make a trip here. Uh, and if they do make that trip, I think they win a race. So
I wouldn't bet against them.
no, he ran here for a while, and that car was pretty fast last year. When I think James is so underrated with his mechanical ability.
Yeah.
I think he helped out the Toyota program tremendously. I talked to Andy Graves about it, and he said James was an integral part of that.
Yeah. I think James has got his hands in all of his engines over there in Australia, I think. So,
Yep, yep, yep. But Tyler, I think that's going to wrap us up for this year. We missed last year. I heard about it. People got mad at me. So uh,
yeah.
we wanted to make sure we got it in this year. I'm glad we were able to. Glad you got a new deal that you
Yeah.
could talk
Thank you.
about.
Me too.
And well, I guess we'll see you when the racing season starts down in Florida.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for everybody that's reached out with positivity and congratulations and all the haters and the losers. You can suck it.
That's your Merry Christmas statement
Yeah.
from Tyler Swank.
Yeah. No. Merry Christmas, everyone. And we'll see you at 2026 at a racetrack near you.
Tyler, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you and everybody who's listening at home.
See you around.